Corey, there's only one thing that we need to know, and that's where are we going this year? Let's find out.
Facts.
Welcome into another episode of McKale Madness Season 2, baby. We are back. My guy Corey Williams is in the house. I'm Saul Bookman, and we are here from now on until at least a week after the Final Four. And we're going to be here talking U of A hoops all season long, and that's all you need to know. That's all we want to talk about. That's all I care about, because there's nothing else in sports that I care about right now. It is just U of A basketball, nothing else. I don't care about the World Series. I don't care about the NBA, the NFL. I don't care about hockey. It's only this all the time for me and my guy Corey. So, Corey, good to see you, bud.
Good to see you, man. Like you said, we in go mode. We here until that Final Four championship parade hits Tucson sometime in April. You know what I mean? That's where I'm here until. So until we throw the confetti, we're gonna be covering the Cats every week.
You know, there's a portion that we always do. We did this last year where we talk about our vision board, right? And we're gonna get to that a little later. But there's a little wrinkle in the vision board that I want to bring up, because it does feel like it has been an eternity since we have been to the Final Four. And the older I get, the less time I have left, the more desperate I become. So I need to see another Final Four for my beloved squad at the University of Arizona. I'm sure you feel the same way, Corey.
Yeah, man. You know, I got a young memory, young mind, but my back is old. You know, I got a 51-year-old back, but everything about me else is young. But I do agree with you 100%, man. As you get older and further away from that last Final Four appearance, it's like, yo, we can't be bringing up the 97 team and the teams in the early 2000s. Arizona fan base wants to get back to a Final Four. And quite frankly, we've had teams every year for the past dozen years that were capable of getting there. But tournament, you got to be a good mixture of lucky and good. So hopefully this is our year.
Hopefully this is our year. And listen, we can go a variety of different ways to start this show off, but I think the best way to go is really to just talk about the expectations of this season to start, what we all perceive to be good and bad, because if you look at how Tommy is recruited and how Tommy has situated his teams, this particular year is a little bit different than in past years. In the past, a lot of transfer heavy talent coming in, guys that were held over from the Miller era, and then as you move into the transfer portal era, European players coming over as well. This year, a little bit less on the transfer portal and more in the freshman realm of things, in addition to the European or the overseas recruitment. So with all that being said, and we're going to get to the vision board and we're going to break down the roster as well. In your estimation, Corey, what do you see as being an acceptable? And I use the term acceptable, because if it's not Final Four, is there another realm of possibility or another record that you would be satisfied with, or outcome you would be satisfied with? So, what do you think?
Well, I think there's a couple things when you look at the season this year. With the non-conference schedule that we have, whether we win those games or lose those games, we got to get out of the first weekend of the tournament. So Arizona obviously wants to be a tournament team and end up with an Elite Eight appearance, a Sweet 16 appearance, and maybe win that first game and get to the Elite Eight. Do I think Arizona can be one of the last 8 teams in the country standing at the end of the tournament? Absolutely. So for me, that is an acceptable end to anyone's season, because I'll be quite honest with you. Once you get to the Elite Eight, you could play that thing 10 times and you'll have 10 different winners, because the talent, the differential isn't that much. It's literally the best against the best. I want to see Arizona in that final crowd of 8 battling for a national championship. If we fall short, you still got to understand we're 8 out of the over 300 Division I schools in the country. So if I see that block A and we're one of the last 8 standing, in my mind as a lifelong hooper and a lifelong Wildcat, I'm gonna be okay with that. Do I want to win 2 more, maybe 3 more? Absolutely. But this team, this coach, this tradition, this talent, I think that's a reasonable expectation for this Arizona team.
Yeah, we had a graphic that says what exactly you thought would be a good outline for this year, and this is what you think is a good year: 11-2 in non-conference, Big 12 championship, yes, Big 12 tournament champions, yes, so a Big 12 championship appearance, and then Elite Eight or better. And so, like, I would agree with you. I think 11-2 with this freshman squad, I could live with a little bit less, depending on how those games were played. I'm okay with going on the road to like UConn, going basically on the road to Birmingham to play Alabama, and possibly potentially like LA or even game number 1 against Florida. If the competitiveness is there, if the game is close, and it's nip and tuck, and freshmen make freshman mistakes and you end up losing by a couple points, I can live with that. If it just looks like they get the brakes beat off of them, that's a little bit of a different story. And
Well,
so I don't anticipate the latter will happen, but that's kind of where I would go. I could settle for a 10-3 non-conference record.
Saul, how we do it. This is McKale Madness. We're gonna keep it 100. They got 13 non-conference games. They got 5 real games out of
Yes.
that 13. 5 real ones.
Auburn, UConn, Florida, Alabama, and UCLA.
And none of those are in McKale.
One of them is Auburn.
One of them. Auburn is in McKale. The other 4 neutral sites are on the road. So if you're going to do the bottom half of the resume, Big 12 championship, Big 12 tournament championship appearance, deep run in the tournament, my estimation is you got to grab at least 3 of those 5. You grab 3 of those 5, those 3 wins, those teams you beat are going to play well for the remainder of the season, boosting your strength of schedule, making sure you're a higher seed than you would be. So getting 3 out of those 5, I know that's aggressive, but damn it, I'm a Wildcat fan. I want all 5. But with the freshmen and the fact that everybody's feeling themselves out, you got a few rule changes in the game now. They're calling things differently. There's a lot of reasons why these early games can go any way. But if it's a coin toss game, which I think all 5 of them, I think we should handle UCLA a little bit easier than the rest of them. But my point is, if we're going to do the other part of the resume, I want to see 3 out of 5 wins of those games. If Arizona can get 3 of those 5, there won't be any tougher environments or games the remainder of the season. We have the luxury of playing tournament teams early, and then once the Big 12 gets started, we got a bunch more tournament teams in the Big 12. So the sooner we can get some orientation on these freshmen, the better.
I mean, in 3 of those 5 contests, you were talking about a team that has either won the national championship one of the last 2 years, if not, or one of the last 3 years, UConn, or if you want to talk about Florida, and you're talking about 2 teams or 2 teams that went to the Final Four a year ago, in Auburn and Florida. So it's not going to be easy at all when you're talking about this squad and what remains for this team coming up. When we talk about Tommy Lloyd and the expectations with this program, right now Tommy sits at 6-4 in the NCAA tournament and a 112-33 record. The bottom record is impressive, no matter who it is. He surpassed a lot of expectations. He was the quickest to 100 wins for any coach in the history of college basketball. Like, you have to be impressed by what Tommy Lloyd has done. However, and it is a big however, nobody cares about that. And that's unfortunate, because nobody cares about the 112 wins and 33 losses. They don't care about the 6-4. They care about what 6 were those. And the fact that not a single one of those wins has come in the Sweet 16 is what continues to be kind of the pain in the formidable Arizona Wildcat fan base side. So this year with Tommy and the expectations, to me, I've been largely on his side about, like, I've seen the matchups, I've seen the things that have happened right in front of my eyes. I do believe, like, I think every single Sweet 16 defeat that we have had, I have been there in person to see, which has been, maybe I should stop going. Uh, but but um they've been legitimate. Like, Duke was legitimate last year. They were legitimately a better team. They just were. Whether you want to admit it or not is irrelevant. It is just true. When they played against Houston back in Tommy Lloyd's first season, yeah, Houston was just a better team. They were a better program, and that's bared out over the course of the last couple of years. The only one that I would say is Clemson. Clemson had no business beating Arizona. They just didn't. That,
Right.
I would say, was a little bit of a choke job on not only Tommy's point, but also the Arizona Wildcats that season. They had all the tools. They had all the ability. They could have gotten to the Final Four that year because they had a squad. Again, they fell apart at the wrong time. This year, they got to make the Final Four, Corey. They're at least the Elite Eight. They have to
Yeah.
make the Elite Eight.
And here's the thing about it, because I played on two teams that were extremely talented and got bounced in the first round, teams loaded with NBA guys, and I played with a team that was probably had the lowest expectations that went all the way to a Final Four. And the one thing I can tell you about the tournament is when it starts, your mental state, the mind state of your players is more important. Everybody's banged up, everybody's tired, everybody's been through a full season, but you have to have some type of internal mission on your team to go on the road and win 2 games each weekend for 3 weekends in a row. It is a totally different beast. And if you get off to a rocky start, the crowd usually cheers for the underdog. So in most instances, all the fans that don't have a dog in the match, yeah, they're cheering for you to lose if you're the favorite. They love seeing upsets. That's why they call it March Madness. That brotherhood, that tight locker room kinsmanship you need to have, that's what we had in 94. That's what they had in 97. And it's Arizona's job to get there by mid-March so that those guys are locked in, because you are, after 2 games, going to play a team that's just as good as you. It really all boils down to your mental state. Can you put together 2 more wins and get past those 2 teams?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about this year's season 2 vision board, the dream sheet, the vision board, whatever you want to call it. It's here. Corey, you and I kind of collaborated on some of these topics and thoughts. Let's start with what everybody's going to want to talk about, which is the freshmen. Obviously, with the freshmen, listen, this is, for lack of a better word, it is a draw. You don't know what kind of cards you're going to get with these freshmen. You don't know if they're going to be superstars or if they're going to be flops. And here are the cards as they're dealt, right? I like the fact that Kevin, our producer, wanted to put Bryce James as a king. I see what you're doing, Kevin. I see that. Okay. King James, I get it. That's fine. But Koa Pete, Braden Burries, Bryce James, Dwayne Aristode, Ivan Kurchenkov, Mobile Boat, CD Gay, like that's 7 guys on this roster that were not here a year ago, that came from overseas or here stateside. Only about 4 of those 5 that we showed on that graphic are going to play a significant role on this year's team. I would say that, and I don't know if it's come out yet. I don't believe it has come out yet, but Tommy Lloyd did hint to it in his ESPN interview that there's a high likelihood that Bryce James is going to be a redshirt, and that's okay. We told you on this podcast a year ago that he's a project. We told you that he was a project.
We did say that.
Yeah,
no,
we did say that.
We did say that. Yeah.
Yeah, we said he's a project. It was a smart project to bring him in because of obviously the clout that he and his family have. Players around the country know who LeBron is. They want to be repped by somebody of his ilk. And so to bring him in, and which also led to Koa Pete and Braden Burries coming here, listen, those things work together. But I will say this, and I think Corey might even admit a little bit that maybe he
Don't
might
do it.
have this a
Don't
little, maybe he was a little bit off, right?
don't
Right. So we
don't do
said,
that.
we said, I said that
It's all
I think
said.
he's a project, and that 2 or 3 years in the program, he will, maybe by his second year, he will prove dividends. Corey, you kind of push back on that idea maybe a little bit, but
I I'm
have you changed your mind?
what I try to do is create a space of fairness where this young man can develop into the best basketball player he can be. The social media, internet expectations are absolutely crushing because of the young man's last name, and
Mhm.
that's completely unfair. He's got to be able to develop and have and have everything fall out the way that he needs without feeling like a failure if it all doesn't happen one and done in
1,000,000
2 years or
percent.
whatever. So, you're looking at a guy who was an All-American who came to Arizona as a freshman, played 1.9 minutes per game, and was pretty much labeled a bust, and was thinking about transferring. So I know what it's like a little bit, not nearly to the extent of what he's going through, but I know what freshman basketball feels like. I know what the adjustments are. I know how long it takes to get in the weight room. I know how long it takes to understand defensive schemes. I know how long it takes to be able to box out a senior or a guy that's 30 pounds heavier than you. I know what it's like to not have to make defensive errors so you get subbed out of the game. Like, all those things take time, but I don't know that the basketball community at large understands that. So when I say I'm not expecting much, it's because I want to see him be able to develop, and I want to give him true marks so we can really see his progress, because I think he deserves that. I think it'd be incredibly unfair for people to expect his game to live up to his name right now. But, like I said, things aren't always fair. Um, I know one thing. I know that he understands work ethic. I know that he has great training and gets his reps in. So it's just a matter of father time and letting this kid develop. But he can definitely contribute. And for him to redshirt, there's the journey within the journey. Yes, he's here at Arizona, but what are his personal goals? Does he want to be an all Big 12 player one day? Because if that's the case, he's got a 5-year clock to do that. So what's the rush? If you're Bryce, why not redshirt a year? If he really wants to have the immersive college experience, what good is getting thrown in at the end of blowouts do him as a freshman except burn up a year?
Yeah,
And
there
in my
is no
estimation,
benefit.
it's not worth it.
Yeah,
So
and listen, I'm right there with you. I'm not arguing that at all. My point was is that, like, it was going to be a process, and the development was going to be here. And I think we've already seen some of the fruits of that labor, just in the small glimpses we have seen, especially the red blue game. I thought the red blue game, because that was the most he's played, in the exhibition season. I thought he really was able to showcase his instincts, his athleticism, his basketball IQ, and I was impressed. I left the red blue game saying, if Bryce James stays for at least 3 years, I think by a mile he will be a high level contributor to the program, because I just can't see how that couldn't happen, especially with all the gifts that he does have both on and off the court. Like, that's something to his credit. But I agree with you. The expectations, I mean, hell, Corey, he got in for a minute in like 30 seconds the other day against St. Mary's, and somebody on TikTok made a whole breakdown of that minute and 30 seconds. And I'm like, child, please
hey,
stop.
they're called content creators for a reason. They literally go out and create content. And unfortunately, the game is the content. You don't have to create the content. It's there. You just got to know what you're looking at and be able to break it down. That's what you and I do. They leave that to the real pros, guys like
So
us.
so
So
we invite all the Bryce James fans to join us for the whole season. Stick along for the ride, and don't be throwing craziness in the comments talking about Bryce should be playing and blah blah blah, because we ain't trying to hear that right now. When it's his time, we will give him the love and the respect that he deserves based on how he is playing in every single game, because we are not going to be biased. If he has a bad game, we're going to say he had a bad game. If he did some
and
things that were sloppy, we're going to call that out. But we will also lift the young man up, because that's what we do on this podcast too.
well,
And we're going to raise a few people on this podcast today.
It's called McKale Madness for a reason, because there's a lot of fandom and fanatics around Arizona basketball. And I actually have grown to like the name because we're like therapists. We help you stay calm. We help explain things to you so you don't get carried away and you don't have these mood swings and all these issues and anxiety from Arizona basketball. Yes, close games are one thing, but unrealistic expectations can drive anybody crazy. So if you're a diehard fan, Bryce James followers, come chop it up with us. We will help you keep your head in the game all year so that you don't go crazy. McKale
So let's
Madness. We literally should be licensed therapists for this.
so let's go back to the freshmen. The expectations versus the reality of this. Your expectations for the freshmen as we sit here today.
You had the graphic. Did Kev do the graphic on the cards? Was that
Yes.
his work?
Yeah.
I like that. That was those the Chauncey Billups poker cards that he was using, or where did he get that design from? Those are sweet, man. I wouldn't play with them joints, but that they look all right. Now here's my deal. When I was a kid, one of my favorite cartoons was Voltron. For you young people, go look it up on YouTube. Amazing cartoon. The thing about Voltron is every time things got thick, they came together, they formed a much larger robot that would kick ass. The freshmen have to be like Voltron. In my mind, I need 22-9 between Koa Pete, Aristotle, and Burries. I need 22-9. I don't care who gives what, but if those three cats can chip in 22-9 as an average, along with what we know Mo can do and Jaden can do and Toby can do, that's a solid foundation. Some games it may be Koa, other games it may be Aristotle, some games it may be Burries. It doesn't matter. But what we need is production at that level from the freshmen. And I think it doesn't sound like a lot. People say, oh, only 22 points between the three of them. Yeah, that would be pretty outstanding in Big 12 play if three freshmen could average that.
Like each?
No, collectively.
Oh.
7, 9, and 6. I don't care how they do it, but we need that kind of production. They're not all going to hit for 15 every night. They're not all going to hit double digits every night. That's just not going to happen. And I think the sooner fans realize that, the better off everyone will be. There will be nights where if we get 20, I guarantee you this, you can benchmark this. If we ever get 30 points out of those three guys, I guarantee you Arizona will win. They will never lose a game if those three kids chip in 30 points. That's a lot of points from kids who have never played college basketball before.
22
so,
and
I know it seems low. It seems low, doesn't it?
9, because I'm sitting here trying to think, okay, let's just say 60 points wins you the game. Okay, a third of the points comes from three guys, 22 and 9. Okay, the other 38 have to come from Bradley, Del Orso, Krivas, and Nawaka.
That's easy. They have to do it. They're the guys with the experience. If those guys give us nothing, Arizona has no chance. I left them out deliberately. They're the experienced guys.
I think if the freshmen give you 22 and 9, you got nothing.
No, I think you're okay. I think you're okay because I think all four of those guys cannot walk off the floor with less than double digits. Any of those four guys that you named, if they come off the floor and don't have double digits, it's a crime. They are experienced players returning to the Big 12. Absolutely no excuses, with the exception of Krivas, but he's 7 feet. So how are you hanging around the rim all game and you don't have double figures and you 7 feet tall? Criminal. Absolutely criminal. And I'll call them all out. I'm not saying that they should try to get 10 points. What I'm saying, through the natural course of a game, those experienced players, Deli can get 3 points with the flick of a wrist. Jaden can get to the free throw line and get downhill and get in transition. They're all going to be playing 25 minutes or more. So what are y'all out there doing? If I see a box score and one of those four guys has more than 25 minutes and doesn't have double digit scoring or at least double digit rebounds or have some kind of impact on the game, I'm going to have a problem with that, because what you're telling me is we need the kids to do it. And that's not going to fly. Not against Florida, not against Auburn, not against UConn. It's not going to fly against UCLA. The guys that have had the battle wounds and the scars have to lead the way. That's how Florida cut down the Nets last year. And if Arizona wants to cut down the Nets, the guys that know what they're doing have to steady the ship. When you go play at BYU, when you go play at Houston, those guys are the ones that are going to have to show up. And then the other guys, I'm not going to say they get the crumbs, but they get in the mix too. I was that guy coming in off the bench after guys had gotten things going. And, oh, you want to leave me open because I'm new. And I would feed off what the older upperclassmen were establishing. That's how you fit in. If you think you're going to go play Houston and just kick it to Koa Pete on the wing and stand there and watch him, that's deep water. Even for a superstar freshman like him, that's deep water.
No, I'm not saying that these guys have to save the day at all.
But I know 22 sounds low, and I set the bar. Okay,
I mean,
even if you said 30.
Listen, man, if we got to the end of the season, and those three dudes you just named are all averaging 6 to 7 points a game, oh man, this is going to be a bad year because Braden Burries cannot afford to average 6 points a game. Not for Arizona to go to the Final Four. That's not even a possibility. Like, he has to average somewhere in the 12 to 14 range at a minimum for Arizona to get to the Final Four. And in addition to that, Koa Pete, I'm not looking at points necessarily for Koa Pete because I think he can affect the game in a lot of different ways. So, like, points to me, I can go up or down with that, in regards to him. But his playmaking, his defense, his athleticism, like, that's got to show out, and it's got to show up big time in those box scores as well. And I'm not even so sure that Aristode is the third of that group. I think Karchenkov is going to have a much bigger impact earlier on than Aristode, because Aristode's still trying to find his legs after coming back from injury and sitting out basically the whole last year. You could see in the last game against Embry-Riddle, he was starting to get into a little bit of a groove, starting to feel a little bit more comfortable on the court. But Karchenkov has been through those wars. He's been in those EuroLeague games, in those championship games with high-level, very loud and raucous environments, very toxic environments, if you know anything about European basketball, and I know Corey does. And so I know Karchenkov is built to kind of weather those kind of storms as well. So to me, I kind of almost look at Karchenkov as almost like a sophomore, if you will, because I know the college game is different, but environment-wise, he just looks like he does not give a damn about the environment whatsoever. He seems like he's just going. He's just playing. He's going to play his game. He's going to do what he needs to do on the court, and he's going to play hard. And I love that about him.
I mean, yeah, they all look good against Embry-Riddle. I mean, it is what it is. They scored 40 points. You and me could have got 40 against U of A. We could have got some guys from the rec. You, me, and them would have scored 40 against them. But I'm saying none of the freshmen are going to be on anybody's scouting report. They're not preparing for them. They're the afterthoughts. And why I say that, I'm saying we got to stop Jaden Bradley. We got film on him. Keep Toby off the glass. Keep him away from the high post. Double team him from the baseline if he does a drop step. And Krivas is 7 feet. We've got a little bit of film on him, but not a lot. And then we talk about the newcomers. I think Burries is the most offensively capable of the freshmen, and he'll probably get the most respect from the opposing coaches. And they definitely will game plan for him. But he's got to put some good stuff on film first before he becomes part of anybody's scouting report, because the truth is, if you shut down Jaden Bradley and you keep Toby at same numbers and you keep Krivas in the back pocket, it don't matter what the freshmen do. You're going to beat Arizona. So
I'm not going to argue that.
What I'm saying is, so I think when the ball gets kicked to them, they got to produce. I know 22 is kind of low. That's just the number I put out there. I'd like it to be around 30, but at the same time, I'm being realistic about how tough it is to play in the Big 12.
Big 12, sure. I think 30 is reasonable. Is a reasonable.
We're gonna track this. So Kev, make another graphic. No Chauncey Billups poker cards. I want a Voltron graphic for the freshmen, and we're gonna see.
Don't know about no Voltron. Come on.
He gonna have to learn. He can do the research. That's what you pay him for.
Of course,
right?
I know about Voltron. So
do you? But do you?
I do.
Do you really?
I'm a Thundercats
Voltron,
guy, so I'm a little different. You know what
hey,
I
I'm
mean?
Thundercats too. Voltron was undefeated. He never lost. He always waited to the end, pulled
Never
out the sword,
lost.
game over. Never lost. LeVar Ball.
Oh boy. All right. So the freshmen, let's go back to the vision board real quick. So we talked about the freshmen and the expectations, and Corey gave the bottom line of 22-9. The vision board, the vision board, the vision board, the vision board, the
He's looking
vision
up
board,
Voltron right now.
the
He's on.
vision board, the
He's already
vision
watching.
board. There we go. The vision board. All right. Uh, I, I do like how you did label these two, by the way, Corey. The FAFO Feb, we're going to get to that in a second. But last year we talked about shooters. I think if you talk to a lot of people around college basketball, if you talk to a lot of people that have watched Arizona, one of the concerns is, do they have enough perimeter scoring? Can they shoot and make enough threes to be able to be, a threat from the perimeter? If you look at Jaden Bradley last year, big step down in 3-point percentage, and he's got to get it back up. I know he's been working on that like crazy in the offseason, and in the early going this year, it's looked pretty good. But who else is going to step up besides ADO? That's the thing that we got to kind of go back to. It's like, okay, you got Delhi, and you got maybe Jaden Bradley is going to have a bounce back year from 3. Who else is going to be able to contribute on that end? You could throw in Burries, but where are we going with this?
Here's where I'm going to take time to educate some of our viewers on shooters. Shooting is a byproduct of a good offensive set or a good offensive circumstance. Shooting just doesn't happen. Okay. When you had an Omar Ballo, Pella Larson would shoot threes where no one was around, and he feasted. Tubelis got high post jumpers with no one around. When you had Henry Visar on the pick and pop, Caleb Love was able to get threes. Action creates the shooters. Every year I played at Arizona, we had action, whether it was a lightning quick point guard that could break down the defense, or we had a big man that you had to double team. But either way, my shots, my threes, Joe McClain's threes, Miles Simon, Mike Dickerson, they came from action of other players who were unstoppable. So when you talk about does Arizona have shooters, the first question you have to ask yourself is, will Arizona be running action that requires people to rotate and create opportunities for shooters? Delhi is not Salim Stoudemire. He's not going to dribble the ball and then pull up in your face. Salim Stoudemire is probably the last shooter Arizona has ever had that didn't need any action, could get his shot off the bounce. Now, we've had many before him, Jason Terry, Damon Stoudemire, guys like that. But Salim Stoudemire was a shooter who didn't need a pick and roll, didn't need a double team. He could have the ball in his hands and get off a 3 and knock it down with consistency. Delhi's not a dribble pull-up shooter. So Delhi has to be the result of a Krivas roll and kick to the corner, or an offensive rebound, kick back out for a 3, or a defensive transition, kick it ahead to Delhi in the corner. The question is, can Arizona create opportunities? The reason Jaden Bradley's 3-point percentage was so poor last year, what was the action? There was no action creating threes for him. His 3 was I'm going to go one-on-one, and when it don't work, I'm going to give it back to JB with 4 seconds on the clock. He shot a bunch of trash threes last year because dudes was being selfish, pounding the hell out of the ball, and then giving it back to him with 3 seconds to go. They were killing his percentage. He took the shots because he was the leader, and somebody got to shoot it. But you and I both remember when Arizona was 4-5 last year, and JB was the only person balling, being aggressive, getting to the free throw line, knocking down shots, forcing things, and it looked bad, and we kind of called everybody on it. Then Arizona began to play a different brand of ball, and he didn't have to do that stuff. So shooting is the result of the bigs. If the bigs don't ball, you have no reason to leave Delhi. You just face guard them the whole time. So I'm curious to see what actions Arizona is going to run that create shots. And I'm curious to see if Delhi's shooting wide open, it's a bucket. If Burries is shooting wide open, it's a bucket. Hell, if JB gets some wide open jumpers, he can knock those down. So Arizona's got to create an inside out effect for me personally. That's what I'll be looking for. And then, like you said, they do have to apply pressure from the outside. Coaches love to say, pick your poison. Can Arizona create a pick your poison type of scenario on offense?
Yeah, yeah. We called it the bread and butter offense.
You have to
And,
have an interior threat, because if we don't care about your bigs, then we'll just stay out here and sit in your pocket and not let you get open. And I know every coach in the Big 12 knows damn well how to coach against a team that has bigs that they don't respect. But
true.
when they respect the bigs, now you got to earn your paycheck. Now you got to rotate. Now you got to double. Now you got to teach kids what to do. You got to have schemes. You got to have rules. You got to rotate. And Arizona does have players that can take advantage of being left alone or being rotated off of, but you got to apply that pressure up front. If they double team with JB's ball screen and he gives it up, so that's the most important question Arizona has to answer between now and December. What happens when they make JB give the ball up? Because every good team we play will make him give it up off a ball screen. There's not a team, there's not a coach, none of them. They will all. I know Cronin is not going to let him get downhill. UConn ain't letting him get downhill. Florida's not going to let him get. They're too well coached to sit back and watch the Jaden Bradley show. So when he gives you the ball, do you step into your three? Do you penetrate and bounce pass it for a dunk? Like that action after the first defensive scheme, that's going to determine how good Arizona's offense is.
I mean, that's well said. That's well said. Let's go to your FAFO February,
Oh boy.
which is just man, this is a murderer's row if you don't know. So
Come on.
let's talk about it. Let's go. February 9th is when it all really starts, because we don't really count Oklahoma State at home because Oklahoma State was whatever.
We gonna count it, but yeah, we should take that
Yeah,
one. That's to
yeah,
be
okay.
yeah.
We should. We have to.
We have to.
Because the next 7 are a gauntlet. So you got at Kansas on February 9th. Then you come home for 2 games, Texas Tech, BYU, and then you go on the road for a back-to-back with Houston and Baylor, and then you come back home. And I know this isn't in February, but the second game of this is March 2nd, which is close enough to February, so we'll count it. But it's Kansas and then Iowa State at home. Bro. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 10. No, I'm sorry, my bad, wrong song. Yeah, that's 7 games in a row that are going to absolutely decide who, not only if Arizona is going to be in contention for the regular season championship, but also which one of these other teams will be, because that is tough.
You won't lose any respect dropping those games, because those are all good teams. But what Lenardi's going to do to you, what the AP poll is going to do to you, what's going to happen to your team morale that time of year, February is the time where either Arizona will ascend into one of the top 5 teams in the country, or they can go play 500 ball and be an 8 seed. It just depends on what they end up doing. But you're talking about no nights off, and knock on wood, you hope everybody's healthy. But that's the chance where you want that Final Four. You can do yourself a lot of favors in February. You mess around and win all those games, you're a 1 or 2 seed, and you've got the easiest path through the tournament that anybody could ask for. You mess around and drop most of those games, now you're stumbling back into the tournament. You're going to Kansas City, licking your wounds for the Big 12 tournament that in all actuality nobody really cares about, because the seeding doesn't really take place based on the tournaments except the automatic bid stuff at Champ League. But that February, you're going to F around and find out. All of us together are going to find out a lot about our Wildcats during the month of February. Now, that's a long ways off. I'm hoping to finish the season at 11-2, put in some work in January, and then we all got to put the seatbelts on for February, because that's where we can make our hay.
Yeah. And a good thing they only play 1 game at a time, obviously, because if it was anything more than that, man, it'd be pretty brutal. So,
For sure.
Listen, I think the dream, the vision board is something we referenced last year several times. I'm excited to continue to reference it as we go along this season. Anything else on that vision board you wanted to point out?
Mo Krivas. I mean, call me crazy, but he's the most important person this year for Arizona basketball. He's a guy who got to watch all of last year, couldn't participate. His impact on the game, altering shots, there's going to be 6 to 8 points a game that don't happen because he's out there and guys had to change their shot, maybe even more. There's going to be 2 or 3 shots that he blocks. There's going to be several offensive rebounds that he gets that weren't part of Arizona's offense last year. He can have an amazing impact on Arizona basketball. And just think about it. If he outplays his counterpart, they have no choice but to peel somebody off and help out. And now we're playing 4-on-5. And now you're going to see Arizona's offense have opportunities that it didn't have before. But if he plays to a stalemate and doesn't dominate his opponent, then it becomes a game of you're just out here going up and down, killing time. I think Krivas can play alongside any of the bigs in conference play. We're going to see him play against one of the best defensive bigs in the country next week in Florida. So he is crucial. He's where the 3-point shots are going to come from. He's where the offensive putbacks and the kickouts for extra possessions is going to come from. The transitions off the block shots are going to come from him. I mean, if he can dominate the paint and be a proverbial black hole, it makes life so much easier on the freshman. It makes life so much easier on the point guard. And Saul, you've played enough pickup ball to know having a quality big man, when the big fella is doing his thing, you usually win 5 or 6 games in a row and you never leave the court if your big man putting in work. But if your big man isn't, you look him off and you bring him out, call for a screen, and you use his body and somebody else tries to score. He cannot be a placeholder out there. He has to have an impact.
When your big is rolling, the sky's the limit. When he's not, the limit's the sky. That's just what it is, man. That's
like
just what
that.
it is. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I think when I look at Mo, I can't help but get frustrated because I do feel like he should be further along than he is. I feel like the instinct around the rim is a little is just the second guessing is just too much for me sometimes. Like, man, you just double pumped against Embry Riddle. Their tallest dude's 6'6". What are we doing right now? Like, you got to play stronger.
Yeah, you get cursed out. See, if Damon Stoudemire was on this team, because Damon used to F-bomb everybody, man. He didn't care who you were. You mess up one of his passes or you don't play aggressive, somebody needs to you want to be positive, team building, reinforcement, but yeah, you can't be pump faking against Embry Riddle. You have to dominate. You have to dominate. And your big sets the tone.
And that's where I get frustrated with him because I'm like, all right, well, there's a lot of expectations, especially on JB and Krivas, to be able to lead this team through the early part of the season, because I do think that the freshmen will adapt, especially when we get into Big 12 play. Halfway through that Big 12 season, I think you're going to start to really see the freshmen kind of start to flourish. That's why I think the second half of this year is going to be better than the first, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But
and let me do a deep dive. I didn't mean to cut you off, but let me do a deep dive real quick for folks so they can understand. An opposing coach's worst nightmare is a physical big on the other team. And the reason that is, and what made, and I know I'm going back 2 or 3 seasons, but what made Omar Ballo so immensely valuable, he would get 2 fouls on your starting center within minutes. And now you're screwed, because now you're looking at 13 minutes of the first half without your starting 5. And then you got to protect them for the opening 5 or 6 minutes of the third quarter. So that affects your ball screens. It affects your rebounds. It affects the mental toughness of your team. If Krivas can be a physical, aggressive 7-footer and other coaches have to worry about protecting their big, that when you're out on the court, and I've been out on the court when my big man's been dominating, and it's almost like a cheat code, because now the second string big is in and he's way better than that kid. So now we're giving them the ball even more. And now you're doubling and going zone and boxing one and all these junk defenses. And now we're drilling you from 3 and the game is over. All because our big was better than your big. That is classic fundamental basketball that will never change. That's why it's so important, like what you said. You can't be pump faking against Embry Riddle. You got to be trying to dunk on fools. I don't care if you missed the dunk. Go shoot your free throws. 1 foul on him. We come down, we do it again. That's 2 fouls. He goes and sits down. Now we're playing 4-on-5. That's the strategy. That's what makes 7-footers valuable. And I think when I say Mo, like you said, more rebounds, more blocks, more steal, more everything. We need Mo for sure.
Anything but Mo problems. Okay. That's it. Okay. Hey, listen, I agree with you on that. But going back to my point is that with those two guys, I do feel like the freshmen will come along down the road. And here in the early going, I think this is a tremendous test for Krivas, because he's going to go up against Condren, who is one of the best bigs in the country.
Whew.
And then on top of that, there's a lot of size on that Florida team. So
Chinelu is
I
Chinelu
mean,
is a stud. He's a
and
stud.
then that's not even Hauk is 6'9" and very agile. Can guard on the perimeter. So we'll get into Florida in here in a second. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that. So that was the vision board, and a lot to kind of digest there. We also have a super chat from one of the greatest ladies that is ever graced the presence of our chat. That is June Thomas. That is Kevin's mom. Much love, June. Thank you so much. She says, welcome back, gentlemen. We appreciate you. And we also see all the other people in the chat as well. Deborah, Kevo's obviously in there. Roberto, there's a lot of you that have tuned in tonight. We really do appreciate it. Tom Lemke, all you guys, thank you so much for the love, and it's good to be back. We do appreciate it very much. All right, let's get into Florida. Let me get my notes, because man. Okay, I want to say it right off the bat. I think Walter Clayton's departure, Walter Clayton Jr.'s departure, is way more significant than anybody in the nation is talking about. Because I thought that dude, he was a dog, and he was clutch for them. He had some big time baskets, and he was a scoring point, and I thought that he did a lot on that team. With that being said, however, they have a lot of good players on that Florida team, and I'm not going to try and disrespect any of them. Let's go ball up top. As one of our favorite segments, this is the proposed opening night lineup with one caveat, with one position, which we'll talk about here in a second. But you got Jaden Bradley against transfer from Princeton, Xavier Lee, who is joining the Gators this year. Then you have Braden Burries going up against transfer from the transfer portal from Arkansas, Boogie Fland. And then you have Anthony Del Rosso against Thomas Hauk, Koa Pete versus Alex Condon, Mo Krivas against Ruben Chinelu. All right. Right off the bat, there's two issues here. One,
that's confirmed. Koa Pete at the 4 over Toby.
It's not confirmed yet.
Okay, I mean that was a head, but yeah, I can see it. But
I don't believe Toby will start over Koa Pete. You think he will?
I know if I was coaching, it'd be Krivas, and I'm not keeping Thanos on the bench against Florida. What are you, crazy? Toby Awaka is the strongest player in the Big 12, and he's the heart and soul of this team. You can't start against one of the biggest, strongest front courts in the country, and you're going to put a freshman out there when you have Thanos?
So do you think that maybe, now hear me out,
I'm just saying, I don't know what they're going to do. I haven't followed it.
This is the great debate, right? This is the great thing about this particular set of players on U of A's team, is there is some positional flexibility you have here, because Koa Pete, Thomas Hauk, that could be a good matchup. That's two guys that could match up with each other. So to go back to your point, you could start Toby and also start Koa and bring Deli off the bench.
I mean,
but would you do that?
You had Deli as a starter. Psychologically, here's a problem with Deli, and this is what Deli has to prove. And I like what I've seen out of him so far, because he looks like he's added some strength. He's more focused on defense. He's a more well-rounded player. Because last year, if Deli didn't hit his first couple of shots, you kind of lost him for the whole game. He's got to be tougher than that now. I don't care if you miss your first 4 shots. You mess around and make your last 4 shots, that could be the difference in the game. So Deli has to be a utility Swiss Army knife kid who's just out there hooping. I don't want to hear or think about him as just a shooter anymore. You're too old for that. Be a baller, player, point blank, free throws, rebounds, layups, and he's doing that now. So I like that. I think
Corey,
In a
you know what's
physical,
going to happen. You know what's going to happen. If Delhi starts, and I'm not trying to disrespect Delhi at all because I think he can get his on the other end. However, mouse in the house. They're going
yeah,
they're
and that's
six
why he
nine
hit the
Hauk.
weight room. No, that's why he hit the weight room, because they were searching him out. I did a lot of games last year, and I was at a lot of shoot arounds, and there was no secret about it. When he comes on the floor, whoever he's guarding, you're our offensive option. And I
But
heard
because of
that at
how
multiple Big 12 shoot arounds.
but because of
And
how size, that makes it a little bit more of a detriment to have Delhi guarding him because that's a big front court in addition to the three.
right.
6'9", 6'10", 7 foot. That's crazy.
I mean, honestly, what it's going to boil down to is, one, has Koa Pete practiced at the four? Has he does he understand the defensive concepts at the four? And is putting him at the four to his advantage or disadvantage? He's going to
He
be
started
guarding
at
it.
the four against St. Mary's.
He started at the four against St. Mary's. What does that mean? I could have started at the four against St.
I'm just saying, like,
I get it. What I'm saying, we're talking about Florida, we're talking about Alabama, we're talking about UCLA, we're talking about UConn. Like, that's a lot to put on a freshman. I don't know if he can do it or not. I'm so curious to see. And if he can, I'll be so pleased, because you're right. That will be amazing flexibility for Arizona. But at the same time, I want to see if Hal can box out at Waka. I want to see that in the opening minutes of the Florida game. I'm not going to let you take it easy and go up against a freshman. I'm going to put the biggest, strongest guys I got out there, and we're going to see how to this is a free one, Saul. You know how sometimes in a fist fight, guys like, hit me right here, I'll let you get the first one for free. That's what this Florida game is. This is a Final Four level team that you get to play for free at the beginning of the year. So there's really no harm in tweaking things and taking a look. But I would put the pressure on Florida, be like, yo, keep our 7-footer and Tobe off the glass. If you can do that, then hooray. But if you can't, we're going to mop the floor with you. I would not start Koa at the four just because he might be able to score on Hauk. But then again, if he's a pick and pop guy and it's a hard guard for Toby, who knows? I mean, that's why Tommy gets paid the big bucks. Luckily, he has to think about this kind of stuff. You and I will be watching the game and taking notes, but it just would seem to me if they walk out to that jump ball against Florida and I don't see Krivas and Toby, I'm wondering what the hell's going on. Because those are my two biggest. And Toby's familiar with the four. He was supposed to play the four last year when Krivas wasn't in. This is the original formula. This is the Jackson 5, the way it was supposed to be before Mike went solo. These two guys were supposed to play together last year. So
I think you have a Waka on the bench for the unknown with Krivas. Because if Krivas comes out and he plays soft, you got to get him out as fast as possible.
And then you got to slide Toby to the 5. True.
You got to. So
now,
also, you typically don't recruit All-American, McDonald's All-Americans who have won 4 state championships to start the season on the bench when they have one and done aspirations.
Well, this is the other problem.
That's all part of the recruiting, right?
I'll never forget what Sean Miller told me one year. I was working for Fox and I was doing the game, and I said, Sean, have you guys, chosen your starters? He said, Corey, I don't choose my starters. They step up and show me who they are every day in practice. And I gained so much respect for Sean Miller in that instant because I agreed 1,000% with what he said. So who starts as opposed to who finishes? If you came to Arizona and you think you can go through 2.5 months of the preseason and you don't kick your teammates' ass and make coach start you, if you're getting a starting opportunity as a gift, you and I both know how well that's going to play out in February and March when everything gets real. So who starts? If it's a political start, if it's an emotional start, I think Tommy Lloyd has to move past people's feelings if we're really going to get to a Final Four. He really has to say, this is the best way for us to start the game. And, KJ Lewis going to the bench last year, everybody made a big deal out of that. Did it really help anything? I don't think it did. I think you ended up losing KJ Lewis for the whole season. And it wasn't like Delhi was knocking down 4 threes a game. So what was the point in that? KJ Lewis was your toughest defender. And when you needed him against Oregon, he showed up and he wreaked havoc on the floor. But that's another discussion for another time. I won't read too much into the way Tommy starts the game. You don't know about guys' injuries, fatigue, experience. They're all going to play. They all seem to like each other and they all seem like good kids. I don't think there's going to be this ego thing about who starts and who doesn't. And God knows, Saul, if that ends up being true, that these kids don't care who starts, now you're talking about having a special team, because there's very few teams like that. If we can have that kind of energy, that would be awesome.
I just don't see a world where Burries or Koa Pete don't start the season. That's just my 2 cents.
I mean, if he's outplayed Delhi, then start him.
I think Toby's coming off the bench.
It'll be interesting. I tell you what we'll do. We'll put a burger on it. If I'm right, you buy me a burger. If I'm wrong, Kev buys you a burger.
Whoa! I was gonna say let me get a burger because I'm with Saul. I also want to be a better factory.
Yeah, okay, so it's 2-to-1 burgers. Y'all can't supersize it now. Come on now.
No, I got you. No, you pay for our burgers, or we will get you 2.
I like that. So we're putting a burger. We're putting a burger on that. We got a bunch of witnesses in the chat. So here we go.
Okay. Let's talk about Florida before we wrap this up. Florida is a dynamic team. Obviously, the defending national champions. When you look at Xavier Lee, transfer from Princeton, a good all-around player, can be a streaky shooter. So is also a Boogie. Oh man, I'm forgetting his name. Fland. They both can be streaky shooters, but they're both capable scorers. They got a lot of versatility, a lot of moves. If you've watched either one of them play in the last year, you'd see that. But to me, the power is all in the front court, and I think for Arizona, for the most part, the power is in the front court as well. What's so intriguing about this matchup is you have Toby and Krivas, who are relatively known entities, and then you have Hauk, and then you have Condon, and then you have Chanilu, who are also known commodities. Front court play is going to be at an all-time high in this game. The back courts are the things that people are a little sketchy on. They don't know what to expect. Outside of Jaden Bradley, everything else is kind of a wild card when it comes to a new system, new team, and all the other things that go along with that. For Arizona, you have so many unknowns with the freshmen that come into these games. What are they going to be like? How are they going to perform? How good really are they versus high-level competition? And for Florida, they've got an embarrassment of riches all across their roster, but still a lot of new players because they got a lot of players from the transfer portal. So it's going to be a fun matchup. But, man, I will sit here and say, if I was a betting man and I was going to bet the game and I was going to choose who I thought was probably going to win, I would give a slight edge to Florida simply because they have championship level experience. They have 3 players that have played in the Final Four. One has won a national championship. They know how to play. And they're one of those bigs are uniquely different than a lot of other bigs in the country because they can facilitate. They play a good all-around game. They're not just a pounded down low in the post kind of player. They can do a variety of different things. Their athleticism dictates that. It's hard to believe that I would pick Florida, and I'm not picking Florida. I just say that they have a slight edge going into this game with the unknowns that Arizona has.
I have a slightly different perspective.
Okay.
I think Florida has just as many unknowns as Arizona because you know why? When you look at the 2 guards that Florida lost, I can tell you from a player's perspective that affects everything.
Everything.
The ball in hand late in the possession. Do you know how many coaches are stealing money because they went out and got a point guard that knows what the hell he's doing? You sitting there and watching this kid with 6 seconds go inside out, pull up from the elbow for 2, like you drew that up. No, that was the benefit of Florida's backcourt last year. Those dudes are gone. So who and how you score is completely different on this team. I don't care how much film you watch, your guards aren't those guys. So those nice little kick out threes you were getting, them bounce pass, shovel passes for dunks that you were getting, that's gone, bro. Y'all have to learn how to eat in a completely different manner. I can tell you, I was eating steak, lobster, shrimp, and caviar for 3 years at Arizona because Damon Stoudemire was our point guard.
Oh, I thought literally you were. I was like, damn, man. What the hell?
There's no NIL back then. We was eating ramen and hot dogs actually, but figuratively speaking. Go back and watch Lute's teams in the 90s and the 2000s and look at the shots Jason Gardner was creating. Look what Jason Terry was creating. Look at when you have an NBA guard, everybody's eating and it looks so pretty and everybody gets a pat on the back and they look like the best player in the world. And I'm not dissing Reggie Gary because my senior year, I moved to the 4. So things were different offensively anyway, but Reggie was our starting point guard. So our offense looked completely different. The looks you got weren't the looks you were used to. So I think Florida has some issues that they're going to look to work out as the season goes because you don't have a here you go, bail us out backcourt anymore. So can these guys back guys down and get their money on their own? You know, Arizona's no slouch defensively. I think another one for Kevo, Mel Gibson's movie Payback. Kevo, you're probably too young. He doesn't know it. See, he's quiet. Go watch Mel Gibson's movie Payback. That movie will be the Jaden Bradley tour this year. They snubbed my boy. He's one of the best point guards in the conference, and they treated him like he ain't nothing. I guarantee you that boy going to be on a mission from hell this year. He going to cook Florida. Cook them.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm just telling you right now.
Listen.
And I don't have no inside information. I ain't talked to him. I ain't talked to his family. I ain't talked to because I don't need to. I know what that feels like when people act like there's a whole. They act like you're not even worth mentioning. He's one of the most talented returning guards to the conference, and they gonna okay.
He wasn't even on the Cousy Award watch list.
Come on, bro.
As like he wasn't even on the Cousy Award watch list as one of the better guards in the country. That's how disrespectful America has been to Jaden Bradley.
And here's my point. In the Duke game, in the Oregon game, in the games against Texas, in Houston, and Iowa State, when did you ever see anybody shut down Jaden Bradley? Ever. It never happened. Caleb Love had off nights. Some nights Krivas didn't get. You never had a game where somebody took it to JB and was scoring on him, cooking him. He couldn't get past them. He couldn't get to the. It just didn't happen. But I get it. He's not a sexy player because he was always team first. But to say that he's not one of the top guards, and I was at Big 12 Media Day like, y'all are tripping. But I didn't want to say nothing because I was there on behalf of ESPN, so I really didn't want to let my Arizona colors show. But I can tell you right now, I'm pissed off for him. So I hope he goes on a scorched earth tour of all these little so-called new to the Big 12 guards that are getting all this love. I really look for him to punish people. He's got the experience, the strength. He's not rattled. He's not going to be shook in any situation. He will have the ball in his hand at the end of the possessions. He does have the green light for Arizona. He's going to look to get the freshmen off, but at the same time, JB's going to be on a mission because there's a lot of dudes that got drafted that I felt like he was better than. But that's just my opinion. I'm not an NBA GM, so it doesn't matter. But I think Arizona has the advantage at the point. And I think Florida, you know, they're coming in off their brand. And if they've been sipping their own Gatorade thinking that, oh, we won the title last year, all coaches know that could be a gift and a curse. Because now, you know, you got to show and prove. So we'll see. I think Vegas, more Arizona people in the house, Cats by 4.
Ooh,
Cats by 4, 82-78. Cats by 4.
I like that. I like that. I was listening to a couple other Florida pods, and they were talking about how it's a neutral site game. I'm like, oh, y'all don't know. Y'all really don't know, like, how we do at Arizona in Vegas. Like
they gamble on riverboats. They don't go to Vegas to gamble. The people in Florida.
they don't even have riverboats out there. They have those
in the
like
swamp. They're in the juke joints.
This ain't Sinners, man. Come on
now. No. I'm just saying though, like y'all have a snake with no head, and you think you're gonna come out to Vegas and smack Arizona around? Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah. Until them new guards show me some. Oh, he's different from. Okay, bro, you was at the school you was at for a reason. You got some NIL money, you came over, but college basketball is not plug and play. It never has been. So I think Arizona has the better point guard, and I think Arizona has better depth. And honestly, I think the pressure's on Florida. If Florida loses this game, then there's going to be questions all next week. Arizona, they had us 13th AP poll. So
Yep.
this there's no pressure on us, even though, and we're in Vegas too. So yeah, I like this one. This would be a great kickoff to the season.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. And listen, it's been fun to bring this show back. We do appreciate you all for joining us on another episode of McKale Madness. Season 2 is now underway. I will be in Vegas, actually, in person, despite what Kevin said about maybe I should stop going to March Madness games. I will be in Vegas to watch this live. If you're out there in Vegas, hit me up. I'm more than happy to go grab a drink afterwards after hopefully a Arizona win, because your boy's going to be out there for a little bit. So
if you are out there and Toby starts, hit up Saul and you can have my burger. Saul will take you out for a burger right there in Vegas.
I got you. We'll go to Gordon Ramsay's spot. Ooh.
Real,
because That was the worst burger I've ever had in my life when I've been in Vegas. So
$70 Kobe burger, something like that.
Oh, man, something terrible, man. So, but it'll be fun. I see some people in the chat saying they're going to be at the game. Wesley Shorts, I see you.
Wesley, find Saul, and get that free burger.
But also, Kevin was a little disappointed about you throwing shade at St. Mary's, a legitimate top 25 team every year. That was disrespectful, Corey.
No, it was an exhibition, is what I'm saying. It wasn't like the chips was all pushed. Randy was sandbagging.
I said he started at the 4, and you were like against St. Mary's.
In the exhibition,
St.
is what
Mary's.
I'm saying. When I'm saying, and plus it is. St. Mary's. WCC.
Listen, tone is everything, man. I'm just telling you what the people are saying. That's all.
Yeah, well, no. I love Coach Ben. I love St. Mary's program. Good, good program. But we'll see. I'm excited. I'll be at home on my couch saving that $3.99 a night on the Vegas Strip. I can't afford to sleep for $3.99 a night. I don't got that kind of money, Saul.
Yeah, well, I'm not spending $3.99 a night either. I'm not going to tell you where I'm staying. It's not great. But hey, we got to survive somehow. We'll be back next week. And for the second episode, and hopefully talking about more U of A basketball in terms of a win. Well, we'll see. For Corey Williams, you can follow him at College Corey on Instagram and on X. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman, and follow my guys, Kevin and Damon, for the post-game show on Monday. Also, all of our other U of A games like football and so on. So U of A is playing at Colorado this Saturday. That should be a fun game. Must win for Arizona football if they have any bowl expectations. So follow those guys. They do great work. And I will humbly say that they are the best Arizona-related podcast out there, outside of a basketball-only podcast, which you are watching right now. So appreciate you all. Until next time, we love y'all. Bear down. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.